Well, welcome. I'm sorry you're not here in person, but we'll do the best we can virtually. Just a little outline of what we have done over the last 38 years or more than that. We've owned the farm. We purchased it in 1981. It was an old dairy farm, and we had a long-range plan to turn it over to a fruit operation, which is finally, I guess, there now. We're always still learning things new, but it's 45 acres roughly. We produce crops on about 35 acres. Our marketing is 85 to 90% pick your own or at the roadside stand. We do some farmers markets and some local wholesale, but our proximity to Lebanon and Hanover with the Dartmouth complex and the Mary Hitchcock, that is our market. And so we very much want to have good weather on weekends starting in another week or so, right through to the end of October. Apples anchor our operation. We have about 12 acres of 16 varieties of apples. Second are pumpkins and squash and gourds, all the cucurbits done on a pick-your-own basis, at least the pumpkins. And then late season blueberries and fall raspberries. So we're an ideal haven for the spotted wing Drosophila. We've learned how to control them as best one can, but it's a necessary evil with our late berries. When we started, when the apples came in 89, 90, we built a building that houses currently our cider press, a public bathroom, storage, and the cooler. And at that time, we put in a very simple cooler. In fact, I'm surprised that Heather asked me to talk about our cooling system because it is as simple and non-technical as it can be, because that's the way I am. But we started with a 10 by 24 cooler back in 1989. And you can see on the left-hand side of that photograph, the more yellow walls, that's the original section. And then 2 years ago, we added on another 10 feet. So now it's a 20 by 24 cooler. And it's a very simple construction. Those spray is right up against the outside siding and those 2x6 studs as you see on the wall. Chipboard ceiling with spray on top. Concrete slab with 2-inch blue board underneath it with two doors, one a service door and one a large door that we can get bins, etc. into. When we added on 2 years ago, we looked at replacing the existing unit, as you can see on the left there, just for greater efficiency and all that. And the company we dealt with said, well, why don't you just put in another one, similar size, more efficient, and you'll run them as dual units. And that was the best advice that I think we had in this whole process, because the new one on the right there, which was put in 2 years ago, can in most temperatures carry this larger cooling area to our target temperature of 33, 34 degrees. Obviously, when it gets up to weather like it is today, or you're putting in a lot of apples, both of them have to kick in. But the real nice thing about the dual systems is that if one freezes up or ices up, the other one can kick in, or we can turn it on if it's not on and give it a chance for the other one to thaw. So we have been able to eliminate any moisture on the floor or anything like that. You can see the two drain pipes going to an external drain, and those are critical to clean at least a couple times a year, because you'll be amazed what crud can get in those and block it up. And that's the only time I've ever had water on the floor, when I didn't pay attention to that. We use this largely for apples, both bins and boxes, but we do store some of the small fruit in there also. So we're not dealing with any vegetable products per se, like leafy greens like that, so we don't have to worry about that. In fact, I mentioned to Heather quite often what we'll do is, if we pick up apples on a day like today, and believe it or not, we can get 85-degree weather in September, we will not put the apples in the day we pick them. We'll leave them outside the door and put them in when it's 55 or 60 in the morning, and that really helps out on the load of the cooler and all that. So having the dual system, I think, is the biggest advantage we have of maintaining adequate moisture. It's like apples, like everything, you need to have a good humidity in there, but not too much. So if it freezes up, you have a chance to thaw it out. I think that's pretty much it, what I wanted to cover at this point, Heather.
All right, great. With that, we will, thanks very much for your presentation there, Paul, and we'll turn it over to Mary.